Alright, David Harry here, and in this video I'm going to be turning the DJI Mic Mini into a proper handheld wireless microphone using one of these cheap stick things, which I will just show you in a second. So what I'm going to be doing is using it with my iPhone 16 Pro Max, and this is basically just a way to turn, like, you know, one of the DJI Mic Mini transmitters into something more like a wireless handheld microphone. Now for that, what I've got here is this stick thing, which comes with 3 foam filters and a dead cat, and it also comes with one of those, was it channel flag things, you know, so you can put your branding on that and stuff. Not that I'd use one of those, but really honestly it's just super easy. You know, the Mic Mini's got the clip on it. You open up the clip, shove it inside there, and then there's your Mic Mini on a stick, basically. And then what you do, you just choose whatever color, you know, foam filter that you want to have on it, or indeed a dead cat in case it gets a little bit breezy. And you've basically turned your Mic Mini into a handheld wireless reporter mic. So let me get into this and give you some examples of what this all sounds like. Okay, so for the first test then, I'm going to be using the foam filter. Now just before I go any further, there is a light drizzle going on, so it's a little bit rainy. Hopefully it doesn't get onto the lens. I don't mind it being a little bit rainy as long as it doesn't get on the lens, because that's just going to ruin the take now, isn't it? Anyway, so what I'm going to do is just, you know, move around a little bit here with the microphone on this, like, you know, reporter stick thing with the foam filter on. Now I would imagine that the only real main concern here would be plosives. So I've got this quite close to me now, so let me just try some plosives. PPP, plosive, plosive, PPP, plosive, plosive. Now I'm pushing that really quite hard into the microphone there, so hopefully we weren't picking up any of the plosives, and if we weren't, that's a good thing. If we were, not such a good thing. However, you do have to remember, I do have quite a loud voice, and I do push a lot of air when I'm doing me P's and me B's and stuff like that, so if anyone's gonna plosive anything, it's going to be me. Anyway, yeah, so what I'm doing here is just moving around a little bit just to give ourselves an idea of as to whether or not it's going to drop out with this like kind of movement in this area. Now the good news is, on my first test with the lavaliers, or with the transmitters just on me, you know, at a range around here, I was like moving around and like breaking line of sight, and it was great. The lavaliers, or the transmitters, didn't lose connection at this type of distance when I was out of line of sight. Now the thing is, that being the case, it's probably going to be the case that I can go further away and lose line of sight with the lavalier or with the transmitter inside this handheld system. And the reason why is because it's held further away from my body. What happens is, with any of these transmitter type microphones, when they're close to your body is absorbing some of the RF, you know, some of the RF signals. So a lot of that energy that's being transmitted is actually being absorbed immediately by your body, and also it does break line of sight and stuff like that. So when we start using these microphones at any kind of, like, you know, reasonable distance away from the receivers, the combination of, you know, some of the RF being absorbed by our bodies and then our bodies becoming an impediment to line of sight is going to cause problems. However, when the microphone isn't right up against our bodies, we might be able to get further away and lose line of sight without the signal dropping out. So right now I'm quite a considerable distance away, and hopefully it is still picking up even though I lost line of sight. Now what I just said there, in case it did lose connectivity, is as I'm turning around, hopefully it was still like picking up even though I'd lost line of sight. Now let me just come this far back up here. I mean, what I'm doing here now is just giving ourselves a really good idea of range. I'm not too sure how far away I am, but I'm quite far away, and I'm going to hazard a guess that in line of sight like this, there's going to be no problems with it being picked up. So once again, what I'm going to do here is to just turn around slowly. Let's see if it can still pick up when I lose a line of sight. Now the thing is, at this point
I've got a feeling it's not going to pick me up properly, you know, when I lose line of sight at this distance here. Anyway, what I'll do is start walking back towards the phone or the camera, whatever way you want to look at this. And as I'm walking back, we should definitely not have any issues with like my signal being picked up or my voice being picked up, because we are basically directly in line of sight. So we would be able to get, you know, quite far away in direct line of sight and still have a good connection. Now the other thing as well, it is a little bit tiny breezy, and hopefully this this foam filter has been okay for the slight breeze that I've got here. However, what I'm going to do now is to test it with its dead cat. Okay, so I've now switched over onto the dead cat. Now this take won't be as long as the other take because I think I've already done a fair bit of testing with that first take, which should give us a bunch of answers to things. I mean, tonality with the foam filter on, what does it sound like? Also, how far away was I managing to go in line of sight? Was it picking me right, you know, up when I was right back up there in direct line of sight? And also when I was turning round, how effective was it when I was out of line of sight or when I was breaking line of sight? So I think all that stuff we've just got the answers to off the first take. However, with this one, it's just another test with a different type of filter mechanism or filter option. And like I say, the breeze does kind of pick up and drop out quite a bit. So again, you know, this goes back to some of the things that I keep repeating with these types of videos. When you go out here, I see the breeze is now picked up. When you go out, it may not be breezy. However, you don't know what that weather is going to be like further into the day and stuff. So if you were to go out without something like any kind of wind protection, you may end up losing a lot of your takes, because you might only have like one chance to record something. Maybe it's a live event or it's just a one-off thing that you've managed to capture. Well, if the audio ends up being distorted due to like wind distortion, then you've effectively lost your video there as well. So like I say, it's always better to have the dead cats or foam filters on when you are outdoors, even if it doesn't feel like, you know, there's a lot of wind and stuff. You're best off just using them on the mics anyway, regardless of what type of mic it is, just in case that wind does pick up and it may actually wipe out your take. Anyway, so from this distance here, I'll just do another little bit of like range testing and blocking line of sight and stuff, and it's just gotten breezy again. So hopefully that breeze there isn't kind of destroying anything. Yeah, I think maybe that's probably it, because like I say, all the main stuff I think was already done on that first take, and the option of the dead cat here was realistically just to give us an idea of, like, you know, tonality and how different it may or may not be compared to the foam filter. And also, did we notice anything to do with the slight breezes interfering either of the takes, either with the foam filter or with the dead cat? Now let me just do one very quick last take. Okay, so to the last test, and this is just testing the microphone without any of the filter options on it. And the reason why I'm doing this is just so that we can have an idea of, like, is there much of a tonal change when using the various filter types. But as I've already said, you know, if you're going out and it might be breezy, you would definitely be best off putting some kind of filtering on. Even if that filtering does alter the tonality of the microphone a little bit, you would be best off maybe damaging the tone slightly as opposed to wrecking the take due to it being wiped out by wind and stuff like that. Anyway, I'll just move around a little bit here. Like I say, the breeze here is just going up and down, and it's not a massive breeze anyway. So even if the breeze does pick up without the filters on, it still might not actually, you know, like wreck the take or anything. I'm not too sure. But right now, the breeze has definitely dropped right down. But nonetheless, this take right now is not really to test anything to do with the breeze without any filters on. It's really just to give ourselves a really good idea of the tonality of the microphone without any filters being applied to it. Anyway, I think that should do it then for these takes. So I'm going to shoot off indoors, have a quick listen, and then do a quick end summary.
Okay, so to an end summary then, and this is going to be super easy. Did you like what you just heard there or what you just seen, or did you not like it? Because if you liked it, then the chances are using something like this is probably going to be good for you for doing various things like interviewing people or just using a handheld, you know, wireless microphone. And if you didn't like it, then that's dead obvious, isn't it? Just don't get one. It's not suitable for you. That's the bottom line. Anyway, yeah, there's going to be links and whatnot to everything used in the video description below. But another quick thing to bear in mind here, at the moment in the UK, this will be the same globally. The prices have plummeted on the DJI Mic Mini, I think, since the Mic 3 come out. Now, the entire set for a dual set of Mic Minis with the charging case is like £99 in the UK, which is insane. However, you can get a single version for £55, and that just gives you one transmitter, one receiver. You don't get like the charging case, but what you do get is charging blocks and stuff like that. So maybe not quite as good as having the charging case, but for £55 you can get yourself with one single channel of a microphone or wireless microphone. And then if you wanted to pay like around, well, this one I got, it was under £20. So for less than £75 you could have yourself, you know, a really good, decent handheld wireless mic system, which when you're not using it as a handheld wireless mic system, you're then just taking your transmitter off and clipping it onto yourself and just using it as a standard Mic Mini, which is what you would normally use it for when you do your vlogging or whatever it is you're using it for. So yeah, you know, the options are just insane here for not like a ton of money and stuff. So I would wholeheartedly recommend that people look a bit more seriously into these things if anything that they've seen in the video seems appealing to them and stuff. I mean, there are a lot of things out there that I think are absolute garbage and I would never ever do videos about them. But these two things mixed together here, these have probably been the first thing that I've come across in a very long time where I've personally got quite excited about it and thought to myself, do you know what? I would definitely use these things. So hopefully that might be like, you know, something to tell other people, because right, I'm just going to cut myself off right there because I will just carry on talking forever. The bottom line is simply this. I have absolutely no problems with any of this stuff here, and I think it is absolutely awesome. And for the price that you're paying for these things, you're gonna have to pay a lot more money to get something a lot better. Okay, that's probably the bottom line to it then. There's gonna be links and all that stuff in the video description. If you've liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and a sub to the channel would be absolutely awesome. I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.